working on this same worksheet right here that we were working on earlier. And now we're gonna look at subtracting. So let's start with just the 6 minus -4. All right, so we're gonna start with this one right here. So we are going to go ahead and start with, I'm gonna get a fresh, this paper has a lot of dots from the other paper. All right, okay, so we're gonna take 6, and then we're gonna put the operation, I'll put that in blue, minus, and then we have in parentheses a -4. All right, so I'm using colors to help you kind of see the different parts of these problems. So first of all, right, if there is nothing in front of the number, it's a positive number. So positive signs can kind of be invisible. I guess that's the way I like to describe it. So if there's nothing, if there's no sign, then the sign of that number is positive. And then we're going to subtract -4. Well, let's just pretend for a second you have nothing. Okay? And then you're going to subtract -4 from nothing, right? If you're going to subtract -4 from nothing, right? Well, what's going to happen is you're going to have to go further negative, right? So if you're going to take away, you're going to end up, if you have no money and you take away $4, now you have -$4, right? So the way that, thinking about those 0 pairs that we had in the video before, right? If you have a bunch of zeros, right, you have nothing, okay? So right now, I'm just going to make 4 nothings. I know you're, what, 4 nothings? Well, remember, right? I was calling these 0 pairs, right? So these are 0 pairs. So this is 0, right? There is nothing here. 1 positive, 1 negative, that's nothing. 1 positive, 1 negative, that's a 0. So, right, if you're going to take away, you're going to take away 4 negatives, right? We're not adding negatives, we're going to take away negatives. Okay, so you have nothing, and someone's going to take away -4. They're taking nothing, they're taking negatives away, right? So we're going to take these negatives away. All right, so if we take negatives away, what are we left with? We are left with positives. So really, if you have nothing and you take away -4, this is like the same thing as, right? So this would be like if you had nothing and you added 4, right? So it becomes adding 4. So what happens is if you have a subtraction sign and then a negative sign, what I like to do is, right, it's called a double bubble. So if I see subtraction, I'm going to make 2 bubbles, and I'm going to change whatever sign that is. So that turns both of these into positive. Okay, so nothing turns into adding 4. So how that looks like over here, right? So now we're going to say 6 minus -4. So I see that this is like subtract. So if I'm going to subtract, then I'm going to double bubble. Because, really, if it's subtraction, it is like adding. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make 2 circles around these 2 things, 2 bubbles. And then I'm going to change both signs. So this becomes, if it's a subtraction, it becomes, that becomes positive, but I have to make sure I change this one. And then I'm going to rewrite it, right, so that I can see it clearly. Now, what I want you guys to keep in mind is that eventually you won't have to rewrite this because you'll kind of just do it in your head. But, right, adding positives is just adding. So this is just 6 plus 4, and so 6 plus 4 is just 10. Okay, so, right, if we kind of go back to what we started with 6 minus a -4, and that is going to equal a positive 10, right? And we don't have to write the positive, it can be invisible, right? But basically, right, subtracting the negatives becomes addition. So let's do one more example with a double bubble. All right, so Miss Mills, -2 minus 7. -2 minus 7. Okay, so we're gonna try that one right there. So this is going to be -2. So they put the -2 in parentheses just to kind of help you see that that is a -2. And then we're going to subtract, the operation is going to be subtract and 7. Okay, so let's keep in mind, right, if there is no sign, so there's no parentheses, this is not, right, really, this is like a positive 7, you can think of it like that, okay, but there's no sign there. So first of all, right, if we follow Miss Mill's steps, right, if it's subtract, so when we're going to subtract, right, so we went over the addition steps. So if we're going to subtract, if you see a subtraction sign, then that means you're going to double bubble. Okay, so we're going to double bubble. So we're going to make a bubble here, and you're like, well, where's the other bubble go? Well, if there's nothing, we're going to make a bubble. We're just going to make a bubble. We're going to make 2 bubbles. And then what was our next step? Our next step is to change both signs. Now these are kind of like some steps. If you want to remember why we're changing the signs, you can go look up here, right? This is why this rule works, okay? But we're going to change both signs if you see subtraction. And so what's going to happen then is we're going to change this to addition, and we change this to negative. And then we're going to rewrite it. And so now it's going to look like this is going to be the -2 that we had before. Right, so we're going to rewrite it. I like to just draw a little arrow right here. We're going to rewrite that right here, -2. Right, and now, right, it now is adding -7. Now there's no parentheses. You can put them in there if you want, you know, but basically we are adding -7. You can see why without color, just black and white print, you would need parentheses to help you see them. And then what we can do, right? So now we are adding negatives. So, right, then over here, we think to ourselves, what are we supposed to add, right? How are we going to add? Well, if the signs are the same, they're going to join up, right? So then if you want to think right now, then what we have to do is, right? So it is now addition. So look at your addition steps. Look at addition. Right, and so you can see these are the same sign, right? They're both negatives, so they're going to join up. So this is like you have 2 negatives and then 7 more negatives. And you can see that if they add up, right, they do not cancel out. So there are 9 negatives. So the answer would be -9. Okay, so let's do one more example of subtraction. And we'll do this one that I said earlier, which is -4, subtracting -10, okay? So let's do that one right here. So we're going to have -4, and the operation is subtraction that we're starting with, subtraction of a -10. Okay, so let's look at our steps. Oops. Straighten this all out here. Okay, so our steps are, right, if we see a subtraction sign, there's a subtraction sign right here, yes? Okay, so then we're going to, what? Double bubble. We're going to double bubble, okay? When we double bubble, then we're going to change both signs in the bubble. So this is a subtraction sign, becomes addition, negative becomes positive, and then we're going to rewrite it. So now we're going to rewrite this so that we can see everything nice and clear. We're going to rewrite this, and so we still have the -4. And now we are adding, right? So we have changed this, and so what happens is when you add, whatever the other sign is becomes the opposite. So now this is a +10. So we are adding 10, or 10 positives, right? And so we look at our addition steps, right? So if we go back and we look at these addition steps, right? Our addition steps, so if the signs are different, some of them are going to cancel out, okay? And so we have 4 negatives and 10 positives. And so what's going to happen is, right, these 4 negatives are going to cancel out those 4, oh, Miss Mills, these are positives. Boom, 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 boom. Well, they were green, so my eyes said positive. But, so those 2, right, those 4 negatives cancel out 4 of the 10 positives. But what are you left with? We are left with 6 positives. Okay, hopefully that helps you. You can always take a picture of your worksheet, text it to me, and I'll let you know how you did. All right, bye.